Hi, folks on YouTube. We're just a few moments away from starting our ScaleFast program, 7 steps for you to be able to grow the revenue in your business. If you're already tuning in on YouTube, we welcome you. We would like you to be aware of some rules. So it's important to understand that while these strategies, techniques, and information shared during this webinar are based on experience and research and practical experience, it is important to understand that individual results may vary. There are no guaranteed results, as you can read. The effort and commitment does need to come from you. The external factors, personal accountability, and professional advice. This is not professional advice, so you need to take on board what you're learning from yourselves. So those of you on YouTube, we look forward to having you join us. And we will be starting in just 1 minute. For those of you that have joined the room to us, welcome to Trisha. Welcome to Ben. We do encourage cameras on, folks, especially if you want to be able to ask a question of us. So if you do want to ask a question, you will need your camera to be on at least at that time for us. We're happy for you to use the chat to ask any questions as we go through the webinar. We do start things on time, so let's get going. My name is Gary Ryan, and with Alison Wheeler, we'll be taking you through today's program. So welcome aboard. We would like to make sure that you do understand that there is a few elements regarding today's Unlock the 7 Steps Scale Fast formula. We do have a disclaimer here, of course, that while the strategies, techniques, and information shared during this webinar are based on experience, research, and practical experience, it is important to understand that individual results may vary. There are no guaranteed results, so we are going to be sharing a lot of success stories and case studies presented today, and they are examples of what can be achieved, but they don't guarantee that you will achieve similar results. The effort and commitment, your results depend on a variety of factors, including your dedication, commitment, and ability to implement the strategy shares, which includes the fact that you're here now. So thank you for that commitment. There are external factors like market conditions, competition, and economic factors beyond our control that can also impact your results. There is personal accountability that you're responsible for your own success and exercise due diligence and judgment when applying the knowledge and techniques that Alice and I will provide for you today. The content of this webinar is not a substitute for professional advice. For that, you need to consult with a qualified professional for any legal, financial, or business decisions. By participating in this webinar, you acknowledge that you have read and understood this disclaimer and agreed to apply the information provided at your own risk. And thank you for your understanding and cooperation. So here we are with Unlock the 7 Step Scale Fast formula by myself, Gary Ryan, and Alison Wheeler. When you're in business, you can get frustrated. It's like, I'm doing all this work, I'm beavering away, I'm putting out material, I'm letting people know I exist. I do a great job for my customers. Sometimes they're ungrateful. Sometimes they're really screwing me hard for price and just want to just drill down on price. And it feels like I'm doing all this work. I'm doing it for myself, for my family, and it feels like I'm going nowhere. Well, what we know, Alice and I, is that many businesses don't actually have a clear structured format, a clear strategy upon which that you are building your business and growing your business. And there are clear marketing and sales techniques that you're not using because you've never been trained in them. You're an expert in your field. You're not necessarily an expert in marketing or sales. And to be brutally honest, even people that think they're an expert in those areas, they might be missing another part of that puzzle. And today you can see behind me the 7 steps of the 10x sales system, and Alison Wheeler and I are going to take you through that over the next hour today. Make sure you're noting any questions down, and again, feel free to contribute during the chat. We will keep you on mute. Welcome, Paul. Welcome, Ben, as well. Great to see you here. Great, Lyndon, as well. So congratulations on joining us. Alison.
Absolutely. And so one of the 10X principles is discipline precedes motivation. So, a classic thing that I find a lot of business owners, I just don't feel motivated. Well, if you're waiting for motivation, you'll be waiting for a very long time. Motivation comes and goes. So discipline is the thing that is going to see you through to your goals. It's a huge part of it. So well done on you all having the discipline of turning up here and to learn and turning up to grow your business. Fantastic. So if we move on, so you will learn the same techniques that's used by our coach. We are very fortunate to be coached by the very one and only Mr. Grant Cardone. And these are the techniques and the strategies that we use with our clients to achieve massive growth. And we will go through some of those results shortly so you can see what we're talking about. These are all proven methodologies. So they were used by Grant to go from poverty. If you know his story, you may not know his story. From poverty to a multi-billionaire in sales training. He's also in property as well, and has a lot in terms of foundations, giving back, philanthropic ventures as well. His own employees, so he now has people in his sales team earning over $1 million in a single year. And the techniques that we are talking about, they are used with over 375,000 training sessions completed by business owners worldwide. That was just in 2024 alone. So, and Gary and I both train on the platforms and on the methodologies every single day. And we are lucky enough also to have a coaching session with Grant every single month. And then we're with Grant's team at least 3 to 4 times a week as well. They are accessible to anyone with a desire to exceed and the willingness to 100% commit to your business. So, this is about showing up. It's about committing. And you guys have shown that because you have turned up, which is great. The next step is obviously going to be, are you actually taking action? So 100%. So we'll show you how you can learn more and succeed later. So let's continue on. Oh, you're muted, Gary.
Folks, you may have noticed that we are recording this session. So if you want to get access to that recording, Senna's just dropping a link to the VIP access. It's just $7. There's an extra ebook from Alison and I, one of our bestsellers that you're also going to get for free, which is worth more than $7 straight up for that. And you'll get lifelong access to the recording if you want to grab that. Senna has just popped that into the chat for you to access, folks. We do appreciate that. Those of you that are members already of our program, you know that you get that access already, so you don't need to go grabbing onto that link. So why now? Why is this really important that you're looking at the end of the financial year, coming into the new financial year? The thing is, it's not your fault. There's a lot of things that are going making circumstances very difficult for business owners out there. If you've got employees, they're extremely costly to have. In fact, many small business owners, and we define a small business as the Australian government does, as 20 employees or less. So it's not necessarily a turnover figure. It's actually the number of employees in your company. If it's just you, and you're even looking at growing and expanding, one of the greatest concerns is the cost of employees and how costly they are and how many days you have to pay them for not actually doing any work for your business. Many business owners are really struggling with that issue. We teach you some techniques that are going to do that. Many of you, again, don't really know that there are ways to market and sell your products and services, irrespective of what they are, folks. It doesn't matter what they are. This 10x sales system works, and we know it works because it's operating in 90 countries across the world. And Alison and I get evidence every week from businesses in those 90 countries succeeding, including here in Australia and New Zealand. You obviously thought that you had to perfect everything before going to market. We're going to teach you today that absolutely is not the right strategy. Do not go about perfecting what your products and services are before you put them to market, because you don't even know if there's a market for them. If you wait that long, you're just burning time. We're about compressing time here through 10x. 10x means 10 times, 10 times growth, 10 times success, but it's also about compressing time 10 times as well to get to where you want to go. You listen to your family and friends who said you were crazy for going down the business path, right? We understand that you get a lot of negativity from people down you. Now, just go and get a job somewhere, many of them would say. Like, if that's you, drop the letter M in the chat. Obviously, if you're driving, you can't do that. You've got to keep your hands on the wheel. But if you are in the chat there, if that's me, if you've had family members, close friends saying, look, just give up. Go and get yourself a job. Then just drop the letter M in the chat, please. We're getting several of you letting us know that. Thanks, Sienna. Thanks, Alison. I've certainly had people say that to me over the 19 years that I've run my business. Thanks, Lyndon, as well. It's very common for you to do that. And you didn't know that people need to see that you exist in your business. What you don't know, folks, is that your number one problem is that you are obscure. People don't even know that you exist. You think they do, but actually they don't. And that's the number one problem. And even to start to get people to be aware of you, they need to see you 30 times before they'll even start to think about entering into what we would term a sales cycle with you, even conversing and getting in conversation with you through whatever means before they'll even engage your services. And this is one of the factors why it's so hard, is that most of us aren't getting anywhere near those 30 times in front of people on the various opportunities that exist out there, either in person or online. We're not doing anywhere near the outflow required in this very, very busy world that we live in. It's noisy out there, folks, right? You got to be the kid in the classroom that's standing there going, hey, hey, look at me. You really have to be prepared to go to that level to get attention in business today. I hope some of you have had a bit of a laugh there, but it's literally that kid when you go shopping at the shopping center and that kid's going nuts, or maybe they're even twins and they're going nuts in the shopping center and everyone's looking. You got to do that for your business, folks. Thanks, Paul. Right? You got to do that for your business. It's a great metaphor for what the reality of business is like and the level of attention that you need to do. If you've got screaming kids and you're in business, film your kids and then use it to get attention for your business.
100%. And Gary, look, in terms of stats as well, we are now inundated with 6,000 to 8,000 advertisements to each individual person every single day. So when Gary's going, hey, trying to get some attention, there is a reason for it, because you are trying to cut through 6,000 to 8,000 other people in front of you, your customer, trying to grab their attention. How are you going to stand out to those 6,000, between those 6,000 to 8,000 other messages that person's been inundated with? And we think that our one post a week or our 3 posts a week, or our one email newsletter a month is going to be enough to get someone's attention. It's not. And, we have to move out of this mode of mediocrity and low level of activity. Why now? Well, you don't want to be left behind. The market will move on without you. And at the rapid pace at which everything moves at the moment, you really can get left behind. It's so important to understand, how the heck am I going to get attention? How am I going to wake people up? It is time to make it happen. Are you ready? Have you decided that you want more? It starts with that decision that you actually want and deserve more. Have you decided that? Is it really time to make it happen, or are you going to sit on the fence? You don't want to be one of the statistics. I actually heard a really scary statistic yesterday, Gary. No, Thursday, Gary, and it was that 49% of businesses in Australia shut down last year. That's an incredible number. So we know that 20% of businesses fail in the first year. We know that 60% fail in the third year. We know that 95% are gone in year 10. Don't be a statistic. There is no need. If you apply the right action and the right methodologies and you actually know what they are, stay ahead of the stat. Don't be one. That's why now. And just so you know a little bit about myself and Gary, we are both Amazon bestsellers. We both have books. We both have co-written books as well. As you can see, we have a few. They are all available, which you can jump on. Or like we said, if you jump on and grab the VIP, you get the recording of this to go back through as many times as you like. Plus, we've thrown in one of our useful ebooks for you as well. And both Gary and I have been coaching for a long time. Between us, we're in many figures. And we've both been coaching under with Grant. For me, a little bit over 2 years, and for Gary, not far behind me at all in terms of 2 years. Yeah, we've both just come up to that anniversary not long ago. So we've been in this world for a little while as well. And the benefit that we've had is we've been able to coach Grant's clients. So we both are 10x performance coaches. Now, Grant, if some of you are or aren't aware, he was an undercover billionaire several years ago now. That was pre-COVID, well, during COVID actually, because it got shut down. And then reignited through the process. So Grant was on Undercover Billionaire. Now, the challenge for Undercover Billionaire was to create a $1 million business valued within a 90-day period. Now, Grant successfully did that. And now you can go and watch it. It's a really good watch. It is very real and very raw about the challenges, right? Of what it really takes. And the grit and the determination and the resilience. Then what Grant did recently, so in June last year, he decided to launch a challenge. He thought, okay, well, let's see if people can do this. It's great. People say to him, it's great that it was you. So he wanted to actually lay down the challenge to people out in the world and say, hey, who wants to put $1 million extra revenue from their business? Who wants to increase their revenue by $1 million in 90 days? That was the challenge. And what he did was he allowed them to get access to Cardone University and also have a one-on-one coach. And so both Gary and I were involved in that program and coaching people through that process. Now, it had to be recorded in the bank money. So this has all been accountant verified. It couldn't be accrued. It was actual cash in the bank. So I had the benefit of coaching Layla and Scott, who are, well, Scott's a dental surgeon and Layla helps with sales and the clinic. And I was the only coach in the world to achieve that goal of helping them to achieve over $1 million. So it was actually $1.54 million increased revenue. So above the baseline. So that was above their normal monthly revenue. So on top of that, an additional 1.5 million in 90 days. Now they could not be more ecstatic, but it wasn't actually the money. The money was nice for them, but it reignited them in their business because they were flatlining. And if you're flatlining, you are one step away from going backwards really fast. And they knew that if they didn't do something different and reignite their business, that they would probably go out of business. And they didn't want to be a statistic. So you don't have to be a statistic either. And yes, that is USD because it was all measured in USD. So, Gary, over to you.
And look, folks, just absolute brilliant work. I was able to get some clients into into the triple six figures, 300 plus thousand in that 90 days extra revenue. And again, when you're a small business, they definitely really appreciate that. This system works, folks. Obviously, like we said at the very start with the disclaimer, you've got to put in the time, you've got to put in the effort, you've got to put in the focus. You've actually got to have goals, which we're going to talk about really soon. We're just sliding through these examples just to show that, yes, this is true. This model does work. It does work in every single business model that you can imagine. This system works, folks, okay? Of course, you've got to modify the steps for what your target customers are, the people that are actually going to pay you. But for example, I had a client, I'll give you two quick examples. I had a client that was, working really hard over in Western Australia, but really working hard for the money. And the problem was that they were what we call closing at a 90% ratio. Now, what that means is every 9 out of 10 people, it was hard to get the 10 people to come and talk to them. But once they did that, they would actually close deals out of 9 out of 10. But the problem was they weren't making enough money. And that closing ratio is actually too high. And so what we did is we tripled their fees overnight. We tripled their fees, reduced the closing ratio to 50%, right? Which is exactly what happened. but they end up doubling their revenue, doubling their profitability, having more time because they had less people to service at that higher price. Does this make sense, folks? Drop a yes or a Y for yes in the chat if that makes sense. Like they were closing every single person. I said to them, hey, if you're closing everyone, you're too cheap. You're too cheap, right? This is just one single piece of advice that we're able to do to help people to be able to increase their revenue and make their business more sustainable. Now, it all starts, right? It all starts with step one of the 10x sales system that Alison's going to lead you through, folks.
Absolutely. And just on that, knowing what should your conversion rates be? Like, do you know what that is? For the people who are for the people who are on YouTube watching, do you know what that percentage is? And if it's a certain percentage, do you know what you need to do about it? Do you know if it's a sales problem? Do you know if it's a price problem? Do you know which one indicates what? Well, we will, at the end of this webinar, we will be giving you an offer to come into our group mentoring program. So if you don't know what they are, then those are things that we cover. So come and join us with other like-minded entrepreneurs that actually want to 10x their business. So number one, though, it starts with an idea and target. You absolutely have to actually know where you are going. I just came off a coaching call before this webinar. And I spent the whole time with this individual working on working on target. He knew his idea. He was relatively clear on his idea, but not on his target. So your idea is, okay, I have this idea for a product, right? I have this idea for a product, or I have this idea for a course, or I have this idea for a service, whatever it is. What's your idea? It could be an idea of, you know, level of financial freedom or whatever it is for you. You have an idea. What's the actual goal and target? Because we have to reverse engineer our way out of that. And have you got that written down somewhere, or is it just all in your head? Because if it's all in your head, it isn't a commitment. People so often don't want to put their goals on paper, and I think this is really interesting. Again, I had a coaching call on this week. She didn't want to put it on paper because she knew it was there and she was committed to it. It was real. That's the very reason you want to put it down on paper, is to make it real. So what is your goal? What is your target? So that idea, and we want to take, and interestingly enough, Gary, on that wheel, you will see that number one is idea and target. It doesn't say go create your product. It doesn't say that first. It says know what your ideal is and your target is first before you do anything else. Because how are you going to know how to package your product, price your product, do anything with your product? And how are you going to know that that actually is going to fulfill your goal? If you want to earn $1 million or several $1,000,000 or 100,000 and you're selling a $1 product, that's a lot of products to sell. What if you sold a $10,000 product? What if you had a $100,000 product? What is it that you actually need to do to fulfill that target and idea? And a goal and a target are different things. So that's number one, idea and target.
And one of the things we know with this idea and target, folks, is that most business owners have made the biggest mistake they could possibly make because their target for their revenue is to replace the income they had at the job that they didn't like, which is why they got rid of that job and started their business. Or they've got a side hustle and they're thinking with this side hustle, I can't wait till it earns the same amount of money that I'm earning in my main job, and then I'm going to use that as my target for my business. Folks, that's when businesses fail. Your business, you have to work too hard. Business is way too hard to have a goal that low. Your goal for your revenue has to be big enough that it's actually going to change the life for you and your family. This is one of the major problems of most businesses. And Alice and I have some tools and techniques that we teach you to be able to get very specific to your businesses about, well, okay, what should that goal actually look like for me? That's my big goal. And then what should my annual target for my revenue be, say for financial year 2026, which is only 9 days away from rolling in now. Okay. This is perfect timing for you folks, right? To set up for the 2026 financial year with a target that's based on reality, but also linked to that big goal, that life-changing revenue goal, and go, okay, how am I going to do it? We also give you tools and techniques so that you can actually work out on a daily basis, how many sales do I need? as Alison was just talking about with your pricing, we help you with your design your menu and get very clear about, well, how many would I actually have to sell on a daily basis to get my weekly revenue, to get my monthly revenue, to get my 90-day revenue, to get my annual revenue. And we actually reverse engineer all of that. And then all of a sudden, many people discover, you know what? Gosh, I only need one or I need two at whatever my menu's talking about. And all of a sudden, I'm in business big time, right? And we do a little thing with rounding up all the time, right? You can't have half of a sale, for example, right? It's one sale, two sales, three sales, 20 sales, 100 sales. It can't be point of a sale, right? And we help you to understand that as we go through. Now, to obviously get sales, right? To get your business happening, you have to get attention, folks. You have to be the kid in the shopping center screaming at their top of the voice with everyone looking at them. There's just so much, as Alison said before, 6,000 ads a day, right? What are you doing to get attention? Most small business owners, what you think you need to be doing to get attention is nowhere near enough to be getting attention. As an example, one of the things that we did with a steel fabricator, this guy's a big burly fella. He's got a business, in his case, it's still a small business, but it is a multi-million-dollar business. But it costs him a lot for the steel, so it's still hard to make a profit. He didn't understand how to use LinkedIn. So 3 weeks ago, I taught him how to use LinkedIn, and I taught him how to produce his first post on LinkedIn, which was associated with his first ever news article, the first ever article thing he'd ever written in his life. And he's not someone that's got a background of writing, but we're able to help him with some techniques and tools to be able to write an article in his voice so it sounded like him, represented his brand and what he stands for. 2 weeks later, he had a $500,000 quote he was negotiating as a result directly from that post. What we say in 10x is money follows attention, right? You have to be getting attention in person. You have to be getting attention online. You've got to understand that with your online presence, folks, there is no such thing as you being just you online anymore. People say this all the time. Should I stop? Should I stop posting as me and just post through my business? We live in the personal branding era, folks, whether you like it or not. We're in the personal branding era. People know Richard Branson more than they know Virgin Airlines, right? People know Donald Trump right now more than they know the big old United States of America. Whether you like him, hate him, it doesn't matter. You know him, right? People know people, human beings first before the brand now, right? Bezos is known, in fact, more than even Amazon, and Amazon's huge. So it's important that you understand your personal brand when it comes to your presence, right? Everything you do, everything you do online is actually about your business. You 100%, Elon versus Tesla. Yes, thanks, Lyndon. Right? Even when you post about your family, which you 100% should do, right? If you have a family, you should be showing people that you're having a family, especially now that we're in the AI age. People want to know, are you a genuine, authentic human being? So you have to post about you and your life. You have to talk about the things that you've gone through. You have to talk about, I've had both my hips replaced. That's one of the stories I utilize when I'm showing people I'm a genuine, authentic person, so that they can understand that I do exist and they can trust me. Best known beats best, folks, when it comes to attention. And if you don't believe me, have a look at the Golden Arches. The Golden Arches are not the best food, but we have this thing in Australia and New Zealand called the Macca's Run. Teenagers and people in their 20s and 30s use it for hangovers, and families use it after sport with their kids or training with their kids. They go on a Macca's Run. So if you don't believe that best known beats best, there's your evidence right now. There are too many small businesses that are the best, but they're in obscurity. And as a result of that, they're struggling to survive. They're just breathing like that every single day of the week. You have to get attention. And we spend a lot of time working with you to get attention because we understand it's very, very high. That's right. Exactly, Paul. You have to personal story share, it's really, really important that you do so to get attention. Now, after attention,
It's the humanization of brands. That's what is going to sell for 2025 and beyond. is humanization of brands. That's why we're saying, share some of that personal stuff. Share, it's not always about that you're perfect, right? Share key learnings or stories of how you've overcome things. So people, you become more relatable. People do business with people. So are you even demonstrating that you are a people and that you have people? Right? Do you have teams? Share about them. Right? How are you highlighting the fact that you are a person and you have people? So people can connect with you, your brand, your face. As a business owner, it's really important. A lot of people want to hide behind social media, hide behind your computer, get out there, get known. Yes, the first few times that you're doing that, it might be terrible. But in 10X, we say pretend no one's watching anyway. Pretend no one sees it, right? Frequency
Exactly.
leads to greatness. So, what are we worried about? That someone's going to tell us we look stupid? Okay. All right. Well, we probably did. They're only telling you
Exactly.
the truth. Yeah, you can get better from there. You're not going to get worse, right? Well, you get better from there.
And
So
that's exactly right, Alison. Like some of you would have seen, I posted that I slipped in the mud this week. That when I was on a walk, I slipped walking past a building site and there was mud over the footpath that hadn't been cleaned up. And I slipped and fell and I was covered in mud. And I had to walk 2 kilometers home covered in mud. And I got my daughter Sienna to take a photo of me and we posted the story. Why? Because A, I was also sending a message to builders, clean up your footpaths. But B, I was showing I can slip over. I'm a human being. I'm real. I exist, right? So you can use like straight away. I went, this is crappy. I'm okay. I'm gonna now use this. I'm gonna use this.
everything, right? Everything's a marketing opportunity. So how can you start to foresee yourself if you know that the next one, like that attention is that piece, then we have to move to, okay, well, I was an employee, maybe now I'm a business owner. What does that mean? You have to become a marketer. That is part of your new role. Market, promote, no matter what your position is within a business. Your role is to market and promote. And why do we need attention? We need attention because we need leads, customers, people coming on the door, in the door, people landing on our website. If we don't have attention, marketing precedes sales. If you don't have attention, you won't have leads. So we get a lot of attention, then we have to actually send them somewhere, bring them somewhere, tell them what to do. It is astounds me the number of people that put social content out there and then don't tell anyone what to do. DM me. What's your call to action? How is someone actually going to become a lead? Another thing, you go on someone's website. It's so hard to do business with them because I've got to search all over the place. I've got to find this the number and all of those things. Is it really easy for people to do business with you, or do you make them jump through hoops and make it really hard? Have you got points of where everyone ridges and then they're jumping off, right? So when I go on your website, can I find the ability to contact you without having to scroll anywhere? Are you on all social platforms with links in your bio so I can easily do business with you? Are you telling me what to do on a post so that I don't have to scroll and do this and do that because I've already got 6,000 other messages coming at me? People will do business with the businesses that are easy to do business with. So, you know, there are so many ways to generate leads when you're getting attention, but you need to bring them into your ecosystem somehow. Is that a name, a phone number, an email, physically walking into your store? How are you bringing them in? Do you want them to phone in? What is it that you want them to do? Get clear so that you can turn that attention into an actual lead because that's the next step in the process. This is before they've bought, they haven't decided to buy yet, but they are a potential buyer now because they are a lead. They show interest in what it is that you are doing, that you can potentially solve a problem for them. Once you've generated leads and hopefully you're nurturing them in some sort of system, then we move on to number 4, which is like I'm saying, is this nurturing process. Gary, do you want to cover that?
Yes, folks. So once you've got the leads, you've got to be able to communicate with them. Now, what most business owners don't know is that there's this thing called follow up. So you've spent that 30 bits of attention, bits of effort to get people's attention. You've got a method of capturing their details. They've now communicated with you in a direct way. So you've now got their details, whether that might even just be a social media handle. That might be the only thing that you've got. You still don't even know their first name, but you can directly communicate with them via a direct message, for example. Okay, so they are now in fact the lead. Once you've got to that level, it takes between 5 to 12 follow-ups to then move them into the next step of a sale. On average, it's 5 to 12. So that's the average range. Now, 98% of business owners give up after one follow-up. 98% give up after one follow-up, which means they're leaving 98% of the business opportunities still on the table. Every business owner on this call has left money on the table. Alice and I recognized how much money we'd left on the table before we'd understood this system and implemented it in our own businesses, right? You have to have a clearly defined follow-up system. Now, a couple of little things with follow-up. You need to use multiple channels to follow up. You can't just use the one all the time, which is why one of the first things you need to do when you're following up with people is find out their other details. You can use other channels. Like if it is a DM where you want to get their name, you want to get their email address if you can, you want to get a phone number ideally. You want to have these multiple ways. You might be able to, with some of their details, such on a place of LinkedIn, even know where they work, understand the city that they live in. Like there's a lot of details you can start to find out through this publicly available information. You got to do the work, especially when it's just yourself early days, to be able to do that. Maybe you'll get one of your children or someone that you know that's happy to do it for just a few dollars here and there to be able to go and do that research for you using the publicly available information that is out there on social media for you to be able to follow up with people. So you go through that 5 to 12 follow up range. That's where 80% of sales take place, folks, between 5 to 12 follow ups. Now, sometimes they're even longer. Alison and I have spent more than a year following up with people to be able to close deals, right? And if you're in business to business, the average is 78 days. It's 78 days if you're in a business to business environment. So you want to try and compress time on that, bring that average down by using these techniques. Now, one of the things we talk about with follow-up is that you need to be creative with those various channels that you're using. You've got to be super creative. Now, guess what drives your creativity? Your big business revenue goal. That life-changing goal that you're imagining every day helps you to become creative with the activities that you do in your follow up. So, Alison, what's one fun follow up that you've tried yourself that you know got some attention?
Yeah, look, I think one of the ways that that is really quite effective and efficient now is a selfie video. So take a little selfie video and then text it through, WhatsApp it through, email it through to a person. Everyone's got a walking computer in their hand and undoubtedly get it, so send a message to them following up. Hey, are we a green light, orange light, or red light? Right? Or, oh, I was thinking of you and I saw this, and so I just sent a message to you. A small selfie video, it makes you real, it makes your brand real. People then know you're not an AI, and it makes a massive difference. And it's very rare that I don't get a response. I've also sent out another one was like a missing persons uh, poster, and I had put the person in missing person because they had ghosted me. Well, I thought they ghosted me, so I sent over this missing person's picture with their name and their photo on there and sent it over, and she responded because she thought it was funny. Right. So, and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. She'd been away, and it would have been really easy, like most people do, make up a story, right? Well, I haven't heard from them, so they can't be interested. Well, how the heck do you know they haven't told you that? You're making up a story. You're unselling yourself, right? Which leads us into the next thing. So, great, we have a lead, we manage the lead, but what do we actually then need to do? We actually need the sale. And most salespeople fail because they don't even ask. Are you actually asking your customers to sell, or are you sitting there just waiting and hoping people come to you and hoping people sell themselves? You know, you walk into the store and, oh, well, if they're interested, they'll buy it. No, ask them, service them. Sales is a service. So stop being an order taker and start actually servicing people. Ask them quality questions. Why are you here? What are you looking for? What are you trying to solve? You know, do you have a sales script? Do you know where you are? Do you even know what your sales process is? We teach people a 5-step sales process. Super simple, super easy. Why? Because it gives transparency to you and the customer. It makes the process smooth. You can't get so lost in the process. It allows you to stay in control of the sale. Do you actually make it easy? Again, do you make it easy to people to be a lead with you? But do you make it easy for people to transact with you? Do you have multiple payment methods? Are do you have full pay? Do you have payment options? Do you have credit card, electronic transfer? They need to tie it in a bow and send it in the post. Like, what are your payment methodologies? Is it easy for someone to transact with you? Do you have multiple options for them? A menu, like Gary said, you have a menu of products where you can go up and down with that person depending on where they're at, depending on their wherewithal, depending on what their needs are. Make it easy to sell. Do you even know how to sell? Does selling make you feel so uncomfortable that you want to vomit? Does the idea of being a salesperson make you feel uncomfortable because you think you're a used car salesperson? Well, yes, okay, great. They're all interesting, but they're holding you back. So even your thinking around what sales is or is not, when sale is just the closing of a transaction where the exchange of money occurs, and money is exchanged for the value of something. And a person will exchange money with you when they think that the value of what you give them exceeds that the money they have in the bank. So whose job is it to then ask and to provide the value? Well, guess what? I'm sure that you guys can guess in the chat. Whose job is it? Whose job is it to ensure that your customer, your lead you've nurtured, knows the value? Anyone in the chat? Whose job? Exactly. It's yours, 100%. So now we've got the sale, we have the money in the bank. We still need to make sure we're servicing that person. It's the service goes beyond just that sale. Do we ask for referrals? Are we following up? What are we doing to ensure that we have that one customer also turns into more sales? Because you've done so much work in the acquisition. And then what do we do, Gary? What's the next step?
Okay, the next step is manage the money. This is how we invest back into our business. It's where we are investing in people and employees, and we do share solutions for how do you get around this challenge of having Australian employees now for some of the roles in your business, and having reliable ways to access talent at affordable rates that you can actually access to grow your business. Managing the money's also about how you're investing in your systems and your processes to be able to help grow that business along the way. And it's also about how you're continuing to invest in yourself and growing the money. I mean, the early days of your business, folks, is if you think about money and investment, right? Who better to invest in than yourself? And this is where so many business owners are investing in the things in their business, their computer, their tools, people go and, buy a great vehicle for their business, whether in some cases the vehicle's not really necessary, but they go and buy it through their business, but they don't actually invest in themselves. Now, you will find that the best business people, like the most amazing business people you can think of, get coached. They invest in coaching. They invest in accessing the techniques and strategies that are going to help them become what they need to become. Like, in order for you to achieve your big goals that you set in the idea target space, you actually have to become something that you're currently not. You've got to be on a growth and development journey. You've got to be learning and growing. Alison and I both we invest heavily in our own growth. Now, one of the things that should you choose to be able to come and work with us is you're going to be one step away from a self-made multi-billionaire who has created the world's greatest sales training system globally, which is the evidence is overwhelming for that. And again, in Undercover Billionaire, without his own name, he had to have a fake name, a backstory, and all of that. He proved in just 90 days, under extreme circumstances, in a town with 25% unemployment, that these techniques work. Again, you've seen Alison has coached her clients to achieve over $1.5 million in the same 90-day period without all the challenges of COVID and everything that were going on at the time. But this system works. So I've had clients achieve hundreds of thousands of dollars extra revenue in that period of time. So but learning and understanding how you're going to do that, yes, very, as you say, Lyndon, at the very least, watch a show. It's a good watch. A little bit harder to find now at the moment because Discovery Channel got Grant to take it down because he was maybe giving them a few for they're not being so smart along the way. But you'll have to go find a way to watch that to find that out. And then that takes us to, yes.
The next one, which is managing after you've managed the money, then we need to scale, right? So now there's a difference between scale and scaling. What we're talking about here is we've just worked out our first round of this idea to fruition to make money. How do we scale that? How do we scale that? So do we need more automations? Do we need people? How are we scaling that? How are we improving on the process? How are we gaining more momentum in this process? And then how do we have we documented this process? Have we got it standardized so someone else can duplicate it? Because if we don't and we bring people in before we've worked out the scale part, when we try and do scaling, which is when we add people into the equation, it might just all fall down because we actually haven't told them what they need to do. It shocks me how many employers send their employees onto the field of their, into their job, so out onto the field without any instructions. A coach that, the coach that coaches the Wallabies is not going to send the rugby players out on the field without telling them their position, what the goal and target is, and teach them how to play the game. Yet, so many business owners don't teach their employees the processes, the KPIs, the how do I actually become successful in this business, in this role, in this job? What's your employee model for people to be able to grow, right? So we have to have the scale step, which is the scale step in this particular case where we're talking about it is the standardization of that particular process, right? The documentation of that process, which will help you then to actually do the scaling part of your business in its entirety.
And one simple takeaway on that point is we use the telephone a lot, and we encourage that you should be calling people, okay? And so when you're calling someone, most business owners don't have a clear script. Alison mentioned that earlier. This is part of scaling because if you've got your clear script, you bring other people into your organization. They then use that script because you're going to teach them. Now, a simple formula for that script is, hi, this is Gary from Organizations That Matter. So I don't say Gary Ryan. And the reason why I don't say Gary Ryan is these days, it wasn't when I was growing up, but Ryan is a first name like Gary. And I can confuse people by saying both of my names. So I just say, we encourage you, just say your first name, but say where you're from. So I say, hi, this is Gary from Organizations That Matter. The reason for my call is, now tell them the reason. The reason for my call is, tell them the reason. And straight away, though, you then go, to be sure that I'm not wasting your time, in my case, are you the owner of X business? Yes, I am. Right. So the reason why I say that is everyone's worried that you're going to waste their time today, which is a fair and reasonable concern. So we're naming it and addressing it immediately. And then what I do is through the script is we go through some what we call qualifying questions, but we've got a clear intent. In my case, with a call like that, my clear intent is to book them for a one-on-one 30-minute call, right? That's the intent. That's where I want to go. Now, another thing, so those of you that book people for appointments, you need to do what's called an appointment lock. We're giving you some real direct strategies here that you can use today, right? We promised we would do that in the webinar, right? So whenever you book someone in for anything, let's say you book them in for Monday, the 23rd of June at 2 p.m. Whatever you're doing, you could be doing a plumbing job. And they say yes, Monday the 21st at 2 p.m., right? You say, okay, great. Is there anything that would stop you for being available for that call, that session, for me turning up? Oh, actually, I forgot. I'm supposed to take my grandmother to the hospital. Okay, great. When will you be available then? Oh, I'm pretty confident we'll be available the following day at 2 p.m. Would that work? And let's say it does. You say, great, let's book you in now for Tuesday, the 24th of June at 2 p.m. Because one of the biggest wastes of times for business is people not showing up and or not being there when you show up, right? So this is called a meeting or a booking lock, right? But this is part of step 7. This is part of scale, is having these systems in place. You might think it's robotic, but guess what? They work. The problem is people don't have systems. They're completely winging it all the time. And as a result of winging it, they miss out on business. So it's really important, folks, that you take advantage of these sorts of tactics and activities that we do. So, because as if you imagine this wheel is a set of dominoes, right? The dominoes need to hit each other. What often happens is that they don't. We also promised that Alison was going to share some of the key lessons from Scott and Layla. Alison, over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is how like I get asked. So how did they do it? Well, number one, we got super clear on the target. The target was to increase their revenue by their base revenue by $1 million in 90 days. We broke it down to what was needed on a daily and at times even hourly basis. How many sales did they need to make? How many leads did they need to generate? How many phone calls did they need to make? How many emails were they sending out? Everything had a target. That was number one. Number two, they needed more attention. Clearly, they were not doing it. They needed more people coming in. That was both doubling down on external marketing and also internal marketing. So they doubled what they were doing outflow, as in for new patients, but then they doubled down on what they were doing with their existing database. And guess what? At least they had one. Are you building a database with my question so you can hit up your database and market? Are you even marketing to your database? Right? What are you doing to keep nurturing those people? And then they would shorten the sales cycle. So we shorten that sales cycle down as much as possible. So there was less time between when the person made an inquiry to when they were sold. So as soon as the lead came in, right, we know that if someone's contacted within 5 minutes of a lead inquiry, the conversion rate goes up 328%. So it's worth having something that can actually contact your lead within 5 minutes of an inquiry. In Australia, the general time frame is 48 hours. By then you're asleep, you've forgotten.
Yeah,
So
just
they
reinforce that point, Alison. Like, folks, what Alison's just said, that this is a super important point for you and your businesses on this call for value for your time today. That you have to, as much as you humanly can, when an inquiry comes in, you got to respond within 5 minutes. And it gets 328% increase on closing ratios when you do that, folks. Like, that could be a massive job that you've let go. And as Alison said, in Australia, the average is 48 hours, 2 days. They're already sold with someone else by then. Please continue,
100%.
Alison.
100%. So they absolutely increased the amount of leads that were called, they were messaged quickly. We shortened that sales cycle, and then we were really clear on what their sales cycle was, and it was documented. We increased lead management. So they upped their follow up. They made sure they were in the 5 to 12 follow up, and they got super creative. We say don't follow up more than the same way twice. Otherwise, you're just annoying, right? Get creative. So in that 5 to 12 follow-ups, they did all sorts of variation in the follow-up. WhatsApp messages, posters, videos, emails, messaging on socials, phone calls, text messages, everything, right? Everything they could think of to put into a follow-up sequence, that's what they were doing. If they had to send someone a toothbrush, they were sending someone a toothbrush, right? If they had to send someone a set of fake teeth, well, they were probably going to do that too, right? Whatever it took to get people's attention and to have them come in, because if they weren't coming in, they can't sell them anything. They also can't service that person. They could not give that person a better smile, which is what they do.
And Alison, so on step 5 with the actual sales themselves, they got super clear on what their menu was and what the various offers were. And in that instance, they also provided some discounts for people for paying up front to be able to book themselves in at a later date. That was another strategy that they used, didn't they?
Yeah, they had a very clear menu. They did a lot of add value to have sales cross over the line, and then they used discount or payment packaging where they needed to. But that was not their go-to. Their go-to was add value first. And then if they needed to utilize discounts or specials or to create, because they also knew as part of any sales process, one of the 7 key things to having a sale effectively occur is it needs urgency. So they had to start adding an urgency piece. Now, some of that needed to be created because they didn't have one. For some people, if their teeth are going to fall out, well, great, you've got an urgency piece. But some of that needed to be created. So they were aware that they needed an urgency piece and they added it in. It's part of the sales process. Do you have an urgency piece in your sales process? And what is it? And is it authentic? Or does it make everyone feel like they are not doing something ethical? Because that won't work either.
And they had a small team. And one of the things that I know that they did, which most small businesses who do have teams get wrong, Alison, is that they still spent time training their team on this during this time so that they actually knew what to do, even though they were super, super busy. So most people, when they get super, super busy, the first thing they stop doing is training, which is actually has a negative impact on the business. They still prioritize their training so that they were able to implement the systems and processes which gave them scale. And for Alison to be able to achieve with them that $1.5 million increase in revenue is just an outstanding result.
Absolutely. And they were just not going to be a statistic. There was no way that they were having anything else except their goal. They literally would not accept any other idea in their universe for 90 whole days. Nothing else entered the no, they refused to doubt.
And
Right? They refused to doubt. Doesn't mean doubt didn't come up. They just didn't feed it. Didn't mean fear didn't come up. They didn't feed it. They fed the goal. They constantly fed the goal. And the thing you feed gets stronger.
And along those lines, one of our American colleagues who coach an HVAC company, so a company that does air conditioning and heating installing in the USA, they'd got to day 28 of the month and they were $30,000 behind on their target for their month, which had been readjusted as a result of the previous month being a record month. So they're 3 days out from the end of the month. It's the 28th, and normally they would say, "Oh well, we'll make that money up next month." But instead of that, by being focused as they'd been taught through their coach to be able to stay focused on their target, not lower it like Layla and Scott didn't lower their target. And they went, righto, they gathered the team and they said, right, what can we do? What are we not doing that we can do? What is it that we are doing that does work? We teach repeat successful actions, folks. Now, if you can write this down, you cannot repeat successful actions if you do not know what actions are successful, right? Now, because they'd gone through a process of recognizing what was successful, what they realized they weren't doing in this HVAC organization is they weren't repeating enough of the successful actions that they knew worked. So they just doubled down on repeating the successful actions over those last 3 days. They ended up getting an extra $60,000 worth of sales and exceeded their target by $30,000 and created a brand new record target because they would not lower the target, right? They'd done the scaling by training people, and the people understood where they were coming from. Now, one of the things that we do advocate is if you have employees, is that everyone wins when the business owner wins, which means the business owner needs to know at what point am I profitable so that beyond that point, as I get more profitable and I get to make more money, the staff can earn more money, right? One of my clients, they've taken one of their employees from earning $55,000 to $135,000. Same employee, right? Same employee, arguably the same job. Everyone's winning. And we believe that in 10x, that everyone should have the opportunity to win for those of you that have employees. And of course, when you've got stories like that, it becomes easier to attract the good people to be employees. We teach you how to promote the people within your company so that you can be known as someone that helps people in your business become successful. So with the 10x sales system, the biggest gap that people have is you're not getting attention. There's a massive action gap between your idea and target, which again usually isn't right in the first place. We help you correct that. Then you've got to be doing far more work than you've ever thought you needed to do to get attention and make those dominoes hit, right? So targets are too low. This is why businesses fail. There's a severe underestimation of the time, resources, effort, and investment required to accomplish your targets. People are spending too much time competing and not enough time dominating in your sector, in your niche, whatever that may be. Making sure that people, when they want what you do, they don't think of anybody else. They just think of you. A bit like the Golden Arches. That's what you want to become. Now, you don't have to have their budget these days. This is the thing. Social media is for free, folks. You can dominate it yourself, right? You want to have people criticizing you. You want to have people saying, "I'm seeing your shit too much." You want them to say that to you. If they're not telling you, you're not doing enough work, right? And of course, business owners fail because they underestimate the amount of adversity that you're going to have to overcome in order to be successful. You getting sick, people wanting to distract you and get your attention and bring their crap into your life. All of those sorts of things happen, folks. You need to be able to overcome it. Money follows attention. So, we have an offer that Alison said that we were going to show you. We do a weekly Scale Fast program. It's a group mentoring program. We promise 48 sessions over 12 months. Alison and I both earn a minimum of $600 an hour with our coaching. So when you work that out, it's over $600 worth of value to have both of us present every week in those sessions. They go for 45 to 50 minutes where we educate, we practice. We have an exclusive WhatsApp and Facebook accountability group, so access to that is worth another $1,970. We have additional resources that we give all of the members of our Scale Fast program. We give them to you so that you can access them as well. We do a weekly deep dive. We do a weekly deep dive into our 10x math, 10x mindset, the 10x marketing, 10x sales, and 10x follow up. These will all make sense to folks that are clear elements of what makes a successful business. We give you access to all of the recordings, which is now over 82 hours of recordings lined up against the 7 steps of the 10x sales system. That in itself is worth just under $10,000. That's over $69,000 worth of values, folks. We charge some folks up to $597 per month, but today, if you want to access this offer, you'll see in the chat, you can get it for $297 per month, where we're going to help you grow your business. You think about what number of sales per month do you need to get to pay for that, and then to be in front with your business. With that support from Alison and I and the tools that we can provide you for you. We encourage you to click the link in the chat to be able to access that offer for you and your business, to be able to take your business to the next level. Alison?
Absolutely. And why not make the most of it, right? We are coming into the end of the financial year, the start of another one. So, why not claim some of your growth and put that growth there for our next financial year? Are you serious? We are the only 10x performance coaches down under. So you get us rather than having to spend $150,000 per session with Grant. You get us. And we give you all of it filtered through into the Australian version, applying to our culture, our market. So what will disappear when you join us in our program? Well, you will lose a lack of clarity. So the disappear clarity, you will lose that. You will lose inconsistent revenue. You get to get off the roller coaster. Hell yes. Who wants to get off the roller coaster? They're fun to ride sometimes, but it's not something you want to stay on in your business. It's not very comfortable. You will lose the lack of an effective end of sales process. Imagine actually knowing what you're doing and it to work. And it to work so you can predict it. You will lose all of the missed growth opportunities that you are not seeing right now or don't know how to make the most of. And finally, Probably the biggest one is fear. If you have fear right now, reasons saying to yourself, oh, I don't know if I want to do it, I'm afraid, lean into the fear. In 10X, we say fear is an indicator of something that you should do. Lean into it. False evidence appearing real. Let's lean into that. So, Gary, do you want to wrap us up?
Yes, thank you, folks. So, folks, the seven-step sales system, it can apply to your business, help you get clarity, help you move from where you are to the next level of your business. You can compress time by tapping into the resources and knowledge that Alison and I have to help you with your business. So we encourage you to come along and join our monthly program. Honestly, you'll be able to access that 82 plus hours worth of material. We'll direct you as to where you need to go to be able to go to the places with that information that is what you need right now to take your business to the next level. Most people find one sale they've already paid for their program per month. Obviously, we want to help you get a hell of a lot more than that. We like to consider ourselves as revenue growth coaches because revenue is the answer. Little tip on this too, folks. If you've never thought about your business this way, 95% of your time should be focused on creating revenue. 5% should be on monitoring your expenses. 95% of your time should be on how do I get more revenue? How do I leverage the revenue I've got? How do I get more revenue? How do I service my existing customers more? Who do they know? Have I even bothered to ask them who do they know that could utilize my services? This is why you must have service preceding sales. Service has to be the driving force for why that you do what you do. Now, one of the other things that Alison and I help our customers with in this program is this issue. Most of you are not sold enough on what you do yourself. Most of you are so not sold on what you do, you're not charging anywhere near what you're worth because you're not sold on your own service. We correct that for you. We help you get sold and understand you have to be sold on your value because if you're not sold, it's too hard to sell other people, especially when you start to put your prices up to where they ought to be. Okay.
And in addition to that, as well, Gary, just on that note, we also help you to sell it to your employees, right? So that they can also sell because they will never surpass your leadership lid. If you have employees, they will only rise to your leadership lid. So then you need to be more sold than they are and know how to sell to them.
So, folks, we've got some time, a few more minutes. We're happy to spend some time with you. Who's got a question? You feel free to raise your hand or just unmute yourself and throw out a question. You can throw out your question can be from any point in time of the content that we've shared. But if you've got a question about your business right now, we just ask you to just say, hey, my name is, and then give us your question. Alice and I will then query you for a bit more information if we need to. But you've spent an hour and 5 minutes with us. What's a question that you would love us to answer for you now? We do ask that you have your camera on when you do that, please. But who's got a
Alternatively,
question that
and you can put it in the chat as well if you
yeah, you
are
can put it in the chat as well if you like.
comfortable to do that.
We are happy. This is free coaching, folks. Like this is a free coaching opportunity.
I'll ask a
Lyndon,
question.
what's your question?
Um, Gary, I've obviously worked with yourself and Alison for a little while now, and I suppose for me, being in the very much startup phase is around getting attention. So I suppose the simple answer, if you're not getting enough attention, is do more. But how do you deal with things like ghosting, which I'm experiencing at the moment after our one-on-one session the other night, where I'm trying to follow up with some older leads, and I'm just kind of being ghosted.
Okay, so that's where you got to get creative, right? Okay,
Hmm.
so yeah, a ghosting story that I've got is business. This was a business to business, quite a big deal, and I've been communications going really well. All of a sudden, nothing. That's what ghosting is like. They you just even nod your head if it's happened to you. You've had a client just ghost you, folks, and they sort of disappear. It's like, well, okay, I've got to get creative, right? So I would no worries, Trisha. I would, I turned up at their site on a Friday, right, unannounced, like literally 15 minutes before. Called them, they didn't answer, which they hadn't. And I was going to say I'm coming, I'm in the area, I'm dropping in. So I drop in the site. I didn't know that the Friday for this business, they got 15 employees, was work from home Friday, including for the business owner. So no one was there. So I rang again, right? I rang, I emailed and texted, and I'm sitting out the front of their place. Rang, emailed, text, and said, I'm at your office. I was just popping in. I just wanted to let you know that blah, 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 you know. And then I turned around and drove home. Now, while I was driving home, unbeknownst to me, I get back to the home office. 20 minutes has gone by. I've got an email response. Sorry, sorry, sorry. I know I haven't been blah, 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 blah. Thank you for coming around the office. It's work from home office day. We got back into communication, Lyndon.
Okay.
Right.
Videos are great too. Like I said, the little selfie videos. Can you send something in a post? Right? How can you differentiate yourself a little bit? This is just creativity. And it's also persistence, knowing that it does take 5 to 12 follow-ups. But also, are you talking to their problem and how you might solve their problem? Or are you just jamming your language down their throat that they might not be able to relate to? So it's, there's a few different aspects to look at that with respect to how to go about it. But most of the time it's just persistence and not assuming that they're ghosting you for or whatever. Who knows? Who knows? What you are not getting is you aren't getting a response. Now, are they ghosting you? We don't know. But right now, you're not getting a response. So we have to continue follow-up in a multitude of different ways and very creatively until such time that you do.
Yeah, like I know with a builder that I've worked with that he worked out that for families, mess was an unspoken objection that a lot of families had to actually engaging tradespeople to come and do work on their homes. The mess that they leave behind. So guess what he marketed? See, this is the other thing about attention, folks, as Allison's just said, like this is great bonus material. Market to the problems that people are having that they want solved. Market to the issues that are concerning them that you can solve too. So, if you know that one of the points of difference with you is, and you're a tradie, that you actually clean up, make a big deal of that. Capture people that you've served. Get them on video. Ask them, do you mind doing a quick little selfie with me? Hey, hey, Brian, we've just been at your house. What do you think of the cleanliness of the job when we're finished? Right? And Brian's going, it's fantastic. Like no other tradie does this. Bingo, golden. Like they're sorts of things too. So, Lyndon, in an example like that too, it might be a video of someone else that's satisfied that you're also sending this person. Do you want to be like this? Assuming you do believe you understood what their dominant buyer motive is, and you're actually addressing that for that particular person with this video. That's another way to do that. Great, great. Does that help with your question?
Yep, perfect. Got
Yeah.
some ideas already.
Great question. Thank you. All right. Opportunity for one more. Who's got one more? Come on. Free coaching here, folks. Who's got a question? Ben, it looks like you're trying to unmute yourself there. So we'll give you a chance to do it. Now, let's see if you can. I know, I appreciate it's not so easy with you, but if you can get it unmuted, we'd love to get your question, mate. Sometimes you got to hold your finger on it maybe for a second.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah, what's your question?
Yeah, I got a question with more like just starting out and like I've brought in a minimum, not a min, just a basic call out fee. So then I stopped going out to jobs, people picking my brain, and then not getting the job. Everyone just goes and tries and does it themselves.
Yep.
But also I get a lot of calls of everyone wants a price over the phone.
Yep.
Rather than, but I need to actually get out there and get on site. I'm having a lot more of that problem.
Yep. So price
It's
over the
really
phone,
common.
right? So, Alison, did you want to answer?
Yeah, as I said, it's really common. So you're not alone, right? Like it is super common. I guess one question is your booking fee. Do you then offer, if they move forward with the job, they get the booking fee off the job to incentivize the fact for them to actually take that up? Would be one thing. The other thing as well is, validate. So this is learning how to actually sell. So it's an objection in the greeting, and you have to know where objections come up to know how to handle them. So it's an objection early on. So they're just saying that I just want a price. Absolutely. Everyone asks for that. You're not
Yep.
alone. I ask for that too. Most of our customers spend anywhere from this to this, but the best way for us to handle that is to actually come out and give you an on-site quote so we can give you something accurately, because I'd hate to overprice you. I don't want you to overspend like a lot of other people overcharge. I'm sure you've seen tradies overcharge all the time. Oh,
Yep.
yeah, okay, great. When can I book you in? 3 o'clock this afternoon. Does that work for you? Yes. Do you want to check your diary and make sure you've not got no other clashing appointments? No, I don't. Excellent. I'll see you at 3 o'clock. What's your last name, first name, phone number, address? Thank you. Great. See you then.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Then you might throw in the selfie video. This will blow their mind, Ben. You throw in the selfie video. Hey, this is Ben. Thought I'd put a face to the name. I'm really looking forward to seeing you at 3 o'clock tomorrow to assess this job for you. As I've already promised, with the booking fee, should you proceed with me, you'll get that as part of that price. So you're not going to lose anything there. That protects you, protects me. Look forward to here and getting this job sorted out for you. Let's go. Like, and press send. Like, they're not going to, no one does that.
Yeah.
The next level service guy does that, right? And the other thing with these videos, smile, like smile, people. So many people, like, there's so much research. You cannot believe about the power of smiling. Even when you're on the phone with someone, they can't see you. Train yourself to smile, folks, while you're talking with them. You know, you'll get unbelievable value there. So Ben, did that help with some tips there for you?
Yeah. Yeah. It does. Yeah. It just helps. Yeah. Just something a bit more short and sweet because I tend to stumble a little bit.
Yeah, 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 mate.
But
Like
yeah.
a lot of people.
Most people do, but Ben, one of the easiest things is acknowledge whatever they say, because it gives
Yeah.
you breathing space to collect yourself to think of the next thing to say. Just
Yeah.
go, totally understand that. Yes, I agree. That's what everyone says, right? It's just you're just buying yourself time to collect yourself. And then, maybe you start writing a little script for yourself, right?
Mm.
So that you do feel more confident in what you say. And you can
Yeah.
start to get predictability, right? Because we all want to get to a point where we can predict what's happening in our business and what the outcomes are going to be. And if you can start predicting people's behavior, it works very well.
Yeah. And when you get sold on yourself, right? I've had people say to me, "Gee, you're expensive." I go, "Yes, I am. If you don't use my services, if you don't play your role, I'm expensive. If you do, I'm cheap."
100%.
Now, to be comfortable enough to speak like that, you love that, Paul, but it's true. I back that 100% of the way. But you cannot do that when you're not truly sold on yourself, which is quite surprising for a lot of business owners. They're nowhere near sold on their own services as what they need to be, right? And they've actually got their own objections that they've got. We help you uncover that stuff and move on from it. We do appreciate everyone's time. We're going to wrap up the way we normally do, which is a little bit different. And we've got some special words that Alison's going to share with us.
Yep, this is direct from one of Grant's books, which is Be Obsessed or Be Average. And I just want to acknowledge Paul. Paul, you have taken up and joined our Scale Fast program. Congratulations. We look forward to seeing you on Tuesday nights, which is when we meet. So congratulations. But here is a quote for you from Grant directly for today. If you don't have clarity on what your value add is, then no one will. I'll say that one more time. If you do not have clarity on what your value add is, then no one will. And that probably helps to tie into what was asking about a little bit right then and there. Always gold. Gary, I will let you wrap us up.
Okay, folks. So we also, given that service precedes sales, we like to always say, "Are you ready to go help some people, folks?" Your response is yes,
Yes.
right? And we say, because we like to 10x everything, what day is it today? And 10x is a symbol like this, and we say it's 10x day. So, folks, we wish you a 10x day wherever you may be around Australia today. Thank you so much for coming along. Again, the VIP access, Sienna will drop that into the chat. So again, congratulations, Paul, for joining us. We look forward to seeing you on Tuesday night and giving you access immediately to the 82 plus hours worth of the program. If you'd like to also drop the VIP, please, Sienna, into the chat. If you'd like to at least get the recording from today, it's just $7 again. If you access the VIP, you can get the recording. You'll actually get two of our ebooks, our best-selling ebooks. You'll get the Sales Mastery and also the Motivation Mastery ebooks as well. They're nice, short, designed to be read within an hour by most people. So we're happy for you to get them, as well as the access to this recording there, as well as a little workbook for it as well. So thanks for coming along, folks. Hopefully you've got some value. We look forward to seeing you and your businesses be successful. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.